My heart hammered against my ribs like it was trying to escape as I pressed myself deeper into the hanging suits, the fabric smothering my panicked breaths. The sound of my ex-boyfriend Marcus's furious voice shouting my name from the hallway outside the penthouse door made me realize I had made a terrible mistake by ducking into the stranger's apartment to hide. Sweat trickled down my back as I crouched in the walk-in closet of what must be one of the most expensive homes in Manhattan. I had only meant to slip away from Marcus for a moment at the charity gala downstairs, when I spotted him storming through the lobby earlier that evening. His eyes scanning the crowd with that possessive glare I knew too well, my instincts took over. The door to this private upper-level unit was slightly ajar, probably left by staff, and I bolted inside without a second thought. Now, here I was, Kenneth Miller, 28-year-old freelance photographer scraping by in a cramped Brooklyn studio, hiding among rows of silk ties and custom-tailored shirts that carried the faint scent of cedar and expensive cologne. "Kenneth, I know you're up here somewhere. We are not done talking," Marcus yelled, his voice echoing off the marble floors as he pounded on nearby doors. My phone vibrated silently in my pocket with yet another barrage of angry texts demanding I come out and face him. Our breakup 3 months ago had been brutal. He refused to accept that I needed space, twisting every argument into accusations that I was too scared to live openly because of my family. The truth stung deeper than I cared to admit. I had fled my conservative hometown in Ohio after college, where coming out meant risking everything with parents who still mailed me church bulletins and asked when I would find a nice girl and settle down. Marcus had been my first real relationship in the city, but his jealousy and control only amplified the shame I carried like an invisible weight. I closed my eyes, willing my breathing to slow, the distant hum of the gala music below a cruel reminder that life was moving on without me. The front door to the apartment clicked open with a soft beep. Footsteps echoed through the space, heavy and confident, nothing like Marcus's frantic stomps. This was the owner returning early. My stomach dropped. I was about to be caught trespassing in a stranger's home, and in New York that could mean police, charges, the end of my fragile freelance career. The closet door slid open with a smooth whoosh, flooding the darkness with warm light from the hallway. A tall man in a perfectly tailored navy suit stood there, his sharp jawline framed by neatly styled dark hair and piercing blue eyes that locked onto mine with a mix of surprise and calm assessment. He looked about 35, exuding the kind of quiet power that came from boardrooms rather than bar fights. "Who the hell are you and what are you doing in my closet?" he asked, his voice steady and authoritative without rising in anger. I stumbled forward, hands raised in surrender, my legs numb from crouching so long. "I'm so sorry, sir. My name is Kenneth Miller. I was hiding from my ex-boyfriend. He was chasing me through the building after the event downstairs, and I panicked when I saw the door open. I didn't mean to break in or touch anything. Please don't call the police. I'll leave right now." My words tumbled out in a rush, voice shaking with embarrassment and fear. I braced for shouting, maybe even a shove toward the exit. Instead, the man studied me for a long moment, his expression softening into something almost understanding. He ran a hand through his hair and exhaled. "Gregory Thompson, sit down before you collapse on my floor. You look like you've run a marathon." He gestured toward the expansive living room, where floor-to-ceiling windows framed the glittering New York skyline under the night lights. To my shock, he didn't reach for his phone or demand I leave. He crossed to the kitchen island, poured 2 glasses of sparkling water from a sleek fridge, and handed one to me as I sank onto the leather couch. "Start from the beginning. No judgment here." As I recounted the night, spotting Marcus at the gala, the years of his manipulative texts, the way moving to New York was supposed to be my fresh start but had left me more isolated than ever, Gregory listened without interrupting. His eyes held a flicker of recognition that made my chest tighten. "I've been there," he said quietly after I finished, setting his glass down. "Not literally hiding in a closet, but running from parts of myself that the world wasn't ready for." He didn't push for details, but the shared silence felt like a bridge. For the first time in months, someone wasn't dismissing my fears or telling me to toughen up. We talked long into the night. Gregory ordered takeout from a late-night spot he knew, and as the city lights twinkled outside like scattered stars, I learned he was the CEO of Thompson Tech, a fintech giant that had revolutionized secure payments for small businesses. His penthouse reflected that success. Minimalist furniture in soft grays, original abstract paintings on the walls that spoke of quiet taste rather than flash. Yet he treated me like an equal, asking genuine questions about my photography work, how I captured street scenes in Brooklyn that told stories of everyday resilience. By midnight, the tension in my shoulders had eased enough for him to offer the guest room. "No one should have to face that kind of pursuit alone tonight," he said simply. "Stay. The door locks from inside if you need it." Lying in the guest bed later, the soft Egyptian cotton sheets cool against my skin, my mind raced with questions. Who was this man who had every reason to throw me out but chose kindness instead? Why did his steady presence feel like the first crack of light after years in the dark? I thought of my parents back home, their weekly calls laced with subtle pressure about normal life, and wondered if Gregory's calm acceptance was a sign that change was possible. Little did I know this accidental encounter in his closet was the beginning of a journey that would force me to confront every hidden part of myself and rewrite the rules I had lived by. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the blinds as Gregory made coffee in the open kitchen. His sleeves rolled up revealing toned forearms. Over mugs and fresh croissants, he casually mentioned a company event needing promotional photos. "If you're free, it could be a paid gig. No strings." I hesitated, but the spark of professional opportunity, and something warmer I refused to name, made me nod. For the first time, hiding felt less like survival and more like the start of something real. The days that followed blurred into a tentative routine that felt both terrifying and liberating. Gregory's penthouse became a temporary sanctuary, its wide terraces overlooking Central Park offering views that made my camera itch to capture every angle. I stayed 3 nights, each one filled with conversations that peeled back layers I had kept buried for years. Gregory shared fragments of his own path, how he built Thompson Tech from a dorm room idea after losing his younger brother to a hate-fueled incident in college, the kind of loss that taught him the cost of silence. I promised myself I'd never let fear dictate my choices again, he told me one evening as we watched the sunset paint the skyline gold. His words hit hard because they mirrored my own regrets about Ohio, where family dinners still revolved around church sermons that left no room for questions about who I loved. I opened up about my photography, showing him portfolios on my laptop of candid shots from Brooklyn streets. Immigrant families sharing meals, couples holding hands in defiance of stares, the quiet resilience I tried to freeze in time. Gregory's feedback was thoughtful, suggesting ways my work could align with his company's community initiatives for LGBTQ youth. "Your eye sees what others miss," he said, and for the first time, I felt my talent validated beyond freelance gigs that barely paid rent. The misunderstanding that could have ended everything never came. Instead, a gentle friendship grew, laced with unspoken glances that made my pulse quicken when he passed me in the hallway or offered me his spare key. I told myself it was gratitude, nothing more, but the internal tug-of-war intensified. Midweek, my phone lit up with a call from my mother. "Kenneth, honey, your father and I are worried. You haven't sent any pictures of friends lately. Is everything okay in that big city?" Her voice carried the familiar mix of love and expectation, the kind that had kept me in the closet for so long. I lied smoothly about a new project, but the guilt gnawed at me as Gregory watched from the kitchen, pretending not to notice. That night, over Thai takeout on the terrace, he asked softly about my family. "They don't know." The question hung between us, and I shook my head, explaining the small-town pressure, the fear of losing their approval. Gregory didn't push. He simply shared how his own parents had struggled at first, but eventually embraced him fully after his brother's death. "It takes time, but the right people stay." His hand brushed mine passing the rice, and the contact sent a jolt through me that I quickly buried under small talk about the upcoming company shoot. The photo session at Thompson Tech's sleek offices downtown marked a turning point. Gregory introduced me to his team as a talented freelancer, And as I framed shots of employees collaborating in bright conference rooms, I felt a surge of purpose I hadn't known in months. Marcus's texts had stopped after a final angry voicemail I deleted without listening. But the shadow lingered in my mind. Gregory noticed my distraction during a break and pulled me aside in his glass-walled office overlooking the Hudson. "Whatever is weighing on you, you don't have to carry it alone anymore." His words wrapped around me like a safety net, and for the first time, I allowed myself to imagine a life where hiding wasn't the default. Back at the penthouse that evening, we watched a documentary on urban artists, our shoulders touching on the couch, and I realized the emotional walls I had built were starting to crack. The city below pulsed with possibility, and so did the quiet connection forming between us, one honest conversation at a time. Yet deep down, I knew the real tests were still ahead. Family visits looming on the calendar and the past I thought I had outrun. Tension crept in like fog off the East River the week Marcus resurfaced. I had just wrapped a second shoot for Gregory's team when my phone rang with an unknown number. It was Marcus, voice dripping with false concern. "I saw your name on the Thompson Tech website for their new campaign. Congrats, but we need to talk about us. I'm in the city for work." The call ended with him suggesting coffee near my old Brooklyn spot, and panic clawed at my chest. Gregory found me pacing the living room that evening, camera bag still slung over my shoulder. "You look like you saw a ghost," he said, setting down his briefcase. When I explained, his jaw tightened, but his response was measured. "You don't owe him anything. But if facing him helps close the chapter, I'll go with you, as a friend." The meeting at a quiet cafe went sideways fast. Marcus arrived in his usual sharp suit, eyes narrowing when he spotted Gregory beside me. "So this is why you ghosted?" "Moving on with the boss." Accusations flew, twisting our breakup into claims that I had used him to climb socially. I stood my ground, voice steady for the first time. "It was never about that. I needed to breathe, Marcus. You made every day feel like a cage." Gregory remained silent support, his presence a steady anchor, but the misunderstanding lingered in the air on our cab ride home. "You think I see you that way?" I asked him later on the terrace, the question raw. Gregory shook his head. "I see a man finding his footing. That's all." Yet doubt seeded in me, amplified by a call from my parents announcing their surprise visit to New York for a weekend. "We want to see your new life," Mom said brightly, unaware of the layers I had hidden. The family weekend collided with Gregory's company mixer at a Hamptons estate. I introduced him as a client, but the tension simmered. My father grilled Gregory about business ethics while Mom praised the nice young man helping her son. At dinner, a casual mention of Gregory's advocacy work sparked questions I dodged, the old fear rising like bile. Marcus texted during dessert, a photo of us at the cafe with the caption, "Tell your new friend the truth." The betrayal stung, planting seeds of jealousy in Gregory when he saw the message over my shoulder. "If he's still in your life, I understand," he said quietly that night back in the city, the first crack in our budding trust. I spent the next day photographing street scenes alone, reflecting on how past patterns threatened to repeat. Gregory's silence at breakfast spoke volumes, and I realized the misunderstanding had deepened into real distance. The high of connection gave way to the weight of choices: confront Marcus fully or risk losing the one person who had offered unconditional space to grow. The city felt smaller that week, every corner echoing the internal storm I could no longer ignore. Growth arrived in quiet acts that rebuilt what Marcus had tried to shatter. After the Hamptons tension, Gregory suggested a weekend drive to the Catskills for fresh air and new photo locations. The road trip became a turning point, windows down with jazz playing softly as we talked about everything and nothing. I shared stories of my first camera at 13, how capturing light helped me process feelings I couldn't voice at home. Gregory opened up about launching Thompson Tech alone after his brother's funeral, the loneliness of success when friends faded under societal whispers. Being openly gay in boardrooms isn't always easy, but authenticity built the company I have today, he admitted. The honesty disarmed me, and by the cabin fire that night, Laughter replaced awkwardness as we roasted marshmallows and planned a joint project. My photos for his foundation supporting LGBTQ entrepreneurs. Back in Manhattan, the collaboration flourished. I spent long afternoons in his office editing images, our shoulders brushing over the screen, the spark undeniable yet unspoken. Family pressure mounted with Mom's daily texts about settling down. But Gregory's steady encouragement helped me draft an email outlining my truth without ultimatums. "You don't have to send it yet," he said. "But owning your story is the first freedom." The misunderstanding with Marcus lingered until I blocked his number after one final confrontation at a coffee shop, where I told him plainly the door was closed forever. Gregory waited outside, and when I emerged lighter, his smile said more than words. A pivotal dinner at a small Italian place in Greenwich Village sealed the shift. Over pasta and wine, Gregory admitted the distance after Hamptons had been fear of repeating past hurts. "I didn't want to push you before you were ready." I reached across the table, our fingers linking for the first time intentionally. "I'm ready now." The moment felt like sunrise after endless night, emotional walls crumbling as we walked home hand in hand under streetlights. The next weeks brought shared routines. Morning runs in Central Park, late-night talks about dreams, Gregory mentoring me on pitching my work to galleries. Internal doubts faded as I saw myself through his eyes. Capable, worthy, whole. Family rejection still loomed, but the growth was undeniable. I had stopped hiding in literal and figurative closets, choosing instead the courage to step into light with someone who saw all of me. The bond deepened into something profound, proof that unexpected doors could lead to the life I had always deserved. File 5. The climax hit like a sudden storm when my parents arrived unannounced for a longer stay, their visit coinciding with Thompson Tech's annual gala where Gregory planned to publicly honor my photography contributions. Tension peaked at a family brunch Gregory hosted at his penthouse. Dad's questions turned pointed when he noticed our easy familiarity. "This business partner of yours seems awfully close, son." Mom's worried glances spoke volumes, and the old panic returned full force. I froze, years of conditioning locking my tongue, until Gregory gently intervened with stories of mutual respect. The misunderstanding exploded later when Marcus leaked old photos to a gossip blog, twisting our past into a scandal that threatened Gregory's board approval for a major merger. "He's trying to ruin you because of me," I confessed in Gregory's office, voice breaking. Sacrifice became the only option I saw. To protect Gregory's empire and spare my family further pain, I packed a bag that night, leaving a note on the counter. "I can't let my mess cost you everything. Thank you for showing me what real looks like." The decision tore at me as I crashed on a friend's couch in Queens, ignoring Gregory's calls while wrestling with the internal crisis. Was love worth the risk of losing family and stability? Society's judgment echoed in every headline snippet I avoided online. Gregory confronted me at my Brooklyn studio days later, eyes fierce with hurt. "Running isn't protection. It's fear winning again." The argument brought every buried emotion to the surface. My identity struggles, his loneliness, the betrayal that had nearly broken us. In the raw exchange, truths poured out. My love for him, the fear that had held me captive too long. The confrontation forced a choice. Hide forever or fight for the future we had built. Resolution came in the clearest light I had ever known. After the studio confrontation, I returned to the penthouse with my parents in tow, heart pounding but resolve firm. Over coffee on the terrace, I spoke the words I had rehearsed in silence for years. "Mom, Dad, I'm gay. Gregory isn't just a client. He's the man who helped me stop hiding who I am." The silence stretched, tears in Mom's eyes and shock on Dad's face, but Gregory's steady hand on my shoulder anchored me. They didn't understand fully that day, but the conversation opened a door instead of slamming it shut. "We love you, son," Dad said finally. "It'll take time, but we're here." At the gala that weekend, Gregory took the stage to present the Foundation Award, pulling me up beside him. "This work isn't just photos. It's proof that one honest step changes everything." Applause swelled as our eyes met, the public moment sealing what we had fought for privately. Marcus's attempts faded into irrelevance. The ex's shadow finally lifted. In the quiet after-party on the penthouse roof, Gregory and I stood under the stars, his arms around me. "You chose us," he whispered. "That's the real transformation." The journey had tested every limit: family, society, self-doubt. But each decision led to this: authentic love built on mutual growth. I had emerged from the closet not just physically but emotionally, stronger for the conflicts and clearer for the choices. True or false? Can one unexpected encounter truly erase years of hiding and pain, or must we always confront our past alone before real love can last?